Good evening, everyone. Today is a very, very special day for all of us on this platform because we have an eminent personality with us and with a wonderful topic to talk on. Topic. This morning newspaper Khaleej Times carried a wonderful news, but I think it shook all of us within. The news title was Wrestler Commits Suicide After Losing in Finals. Very painful. Ritika, a young girl from a state of Rajasthan and a cousin of the two brilliant gold medalists in wrestling, committed suicide. Why did it happen? I'm sure this news has hit us hard. Dealing with emotions is an amazing art. We all need to learn, whoever we are, whether you are a psychologist or a non psychologist. But I'm sure that we, as far as we are born as human beings, our emotions are very, very important to be dealt with. Well, COVID-19 pandemic has really taken everybody for a toll. Economic scenario has totally shaken up and we are really wondering what's next. We all were waiting for vaccine and now vaccine being there, still there are a lot of question marks in our mind. Emotional health has taken the front seat as per WHO. Today, we have somebody who I think is an authority in the field to guide us. What should we do? How do we take it? When do we start? Let me introduce you to this eminent personality, and he is trained in CBT and REBT from US. He trained thousands of mental health professionals in the last 10 years all over the world. He is an international trainer and, of course, a motivational speaker. He is an associate fellow with Albert Ellis Institute of New York, US. Well, he has published plenty of articles in national and international journals. His keynote presentation on REBT and CBT for depression has really got momentum and has been appreciated by plenty of people around the world. And he is none other than a known Dr. Shishir. Thank you so much, Dr. Shishir, for being with us this evening. We're really delighted, and time is very precious today. And we in Dubai are very keen to hear from you something which is very close to your heart, which is very close to my heart. And I'm sure that today our authorities are looking forward to what exactly is emotional education.
All right, so thank you very much, Dr. Alka, for inviting me here. Well, emotional education, we all have been doing informally. Even parents do emotional education for children by the way of modeling that, if something goes wrong, then, how do you react in a way that would be helpful? So informal emotional education, you all know, teaching children, teaching adolescents how to emote, how to behave. Right, but formal emotional education can take the form of a structured program or individual one-to-one program. So any program that teaches children what are emotions, how exactly to relate emotions, and how to change your thinking, how to change your behavior, how so that targets thinking, feeling, behaviors, and life skills. I would say that that's an emotional education program.
Thank
Formally,
you so
we
much.
all have been doing that so far.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shishir. Yes, thinking, feeling, and action, your behavior. How do you behave? How you think, what you feel are very significant components. But we know that as adults, a lot of us don't really know how to deal with our own emotions. And I think this journey has to start yet very, very early. It's not been a part of school curriculum yet. What do you think about it? Do you think our children need another subject in a formal form in schools?
Absolutely, I think this is the first subject that we need to teach children. I know that the children are overburdened with subjects already. And more than children, I would say that the teachers are burdened with lots of subjects. That's precisely why we need this subject. is that there's
Thank
a
you
lot.
so much. I endorse it 100%. And I would like to share with you that in Dubai, we have Ministry of Happiness. We have street, which is called Happiness Street. We have everywhere today. Even this morning, we had a full, huge page dedicated to happiness today. And happiness is very important in Dubai. And you rightly said that above all subjects is the subject of emotional education. I would like you to please share with us what impact you think this will have for our future.
As you know, children are not basically taught these skills at school or at home, how to manage their feelings. They get a reprimand that you're not managing your feelings well. So it's like somebody made a pizza, but the pizza didn't turn out good. So all they get is a reprimand that the pizza is not good. But nobody shares with them a proper way to do it, or nobody shows them how exactly to make the pizza. So, scolding children is not going to work. But the impact that this program can have and has been documented to have, the number one impact emotional education programs have been documented to have, specifically if they are based on CBT and REBT, is improvement of academic scores. So there have been lots of studies done. I have the literature. So improvement of academic score is something that has been documented. Plus, because these programs also teach you thinking skills, thinking differently. So anything that can benefit from rational thinking, anything that can benefit from behaving appropriately, or non-impulsive behaviors, so will have a long-term impact on the future of the children and adolescents. So if we look at the need for this program, by the time a child gets help in a psychological condition, already 7 years on an average have passed, which means that by the time a child would probably get help and treated for a problem, it's too late. So why don't we start early, before these problems begin? So something called as preventive emotional education program can be implemented in schools, and that can save us a lot of money, time, and effort, instead of trying to wait for the problems to come up, because a lot of children would not show problems that would be evident by or can be caught by teachers or anyone else, specifically the internalizing problems that we talk about. So by the time a child shows symptoms, it might be too late. So I would say that these would have huge impact on their future, the future of a country, the future of a state, or any school itself. That emotional education programs can have multiple effects.
Rightly said, Dr. Shishir. Actually, a very recent suicide in Dubai, a teenager left the home, and parents said that she was completely all right. There was no issue. The parent could see, and they said even the night before they had a wonderful time together. So you're rightly saying that before these things are noticed by the naked eyes, by a non-professional, probably it could be very, very late. So it is important that we start educating our children at much younger age. I would like to ask you that is there a structure way to educate the children in these skills, and what kind of a techniques you think we should be training them on, which would be useful to them?
Absolutely. There are many ways to train children into this emotional education, as I'm talking about. So there could be one structured program that could be implemented in schools, say, for instance, 12 weeks of regular sessions. So it could be a different subject altogether, where the teachers train children, or I would say psychologists would train the children into these concepts with very structured lessons. There could be informal ways to do the same thing. For instance, there could be one-to-one counseling sessions that teachers and psychologists could do. There could be, learning centers that schools can host. There could be posters. There could be competitions that children can be given. For instance, how to manage your feelings, and giving them literature. So there are many ways in which the same emotional education program can be implemented. And parents can do the same thing by what we call as catching a teachable moment. Say, for instance, you read the news of suicide, you read the news of some violence or some crime, or you could simply, be at a traffic signal where there is nobody else watching you, or there are no CCTV cameras. And this is a teachable moment. You could ask your child, what would be the consequences if I do this? So, because children automatically do not have, I'm going to talk about that as well, but children could be taught such skills of managing their behavior by teaching a simple thinking skill like consequential thinking in day-to-day moments, like when we come across adversities. Teachers could also teach them a specific skill in that moment. So there are multiple ways in which the emotional education program can be implemented in educational settings, not only schools, but colleges as well.
Rightly said that, because the children who are already in college now, they've missed their early years education. But I think better late than never, we do implement it as early as possible with all the educational institution. Rightly said. Do you think that we can train teachers and teachers can further take up with the students, or do you think it's better that it is rested in the hands of professionals?
So let us say that, the COVID pandemic is there, and then now you want to treat the students with COVID symptoms. So would you train the teachers, or would you rather hire doctors? Teachers are already burdened with a lot of stuff. I think that's definitely true in India, that they have too much to do. The best thing would be a psychologist is employed to teach these concepts, because there would be one-way communication. Like, teachers can deliver a content, but when it comes to answering the same questions from students are smart. The teachers, I do not know, but the teachers may not be in a position to answer difficult questions, specifically that have to deal with child psychology. I'm really not aware how much child psychology is taught in the curriculum of or the curricula of the educational programs that teachers have to go through. But the best thing would be psychologists or specifically mental health professionals deliver this program. But definitely, yes,
Okay.
answering your question, can teachers be trained into this? Yes, they can be.
I heard your.
All right. Would like to know that what kind of activities or lectures are delivered in these programs, or how is the program really delivered?
Yeah, let's talk about the structured emotional education program that I'm talking about. The activities depend on the age group. For instance, very young children, we would have activities like circle time, which already all schools have. But there could be story time. There could be, activities that have to do with crafts. There could be, there could be demonstrations. There could be games. So anything that engages these children, number one, is involved in the activities. Number two, that teaches the mental health concept. So, say for instance, any story would have a moral, and any story can be told to the students with a specific cognitive concept. Now, we could also give examples like we say this is an analogy. So, if for instance, this is cactus. What can you learn from cactus in the COVID pandemic? Well, now, what can a cactus teach us? The cactus has survived through millions of years of harsh weather and climate. It's because it adapted to the harsh climate because of its thick skin. Now, human beings can also adapt to harsh environment, and instead of trying to change the environment, it has adapted to the environment, not only thrive, do. So this is something that we can learn from cactus in the COVID pandemic, that times are changing, there is an adversity. You need to adapt to it. And then when, for instance, you are going back to the school from the online school, you need to.
Doctor, I think you got muted by chance.
Wow, I have no clue how that happened.
Just a couple of minutes back, yeah.
Couple of minutes back. So did
Yes,
you hear about the cactus?
Cactus was fine. We were thorough with the cactus. After that.
All right, so this is what one of the activities that I just demonstrated is a very simple example of an analogy of a cactus that we taught them a skill of adaptability. Now, there could be hundreds of different ways in which we could teach mental health concepts. And depending on the age group and what we call as cognitive development of the child, we involve activities and they are age specific. The skills are age specific that we teach them.
Wonderful. Can you share some more of the activities so that the school professionals and in Dubai the regulatory authorities really understand the impact of this kind of an training in the school and what kind of an outcomes are there? And have you tried this kind of a training somewhere? And like, is there something which we can quote?
Okay, so and there are a lot of questions in this. First of all, I have tried this, not tried this, but the program is already in place, so I have implemented it in many places. So we have been doing the same program for the last 4 years in Nagpur, the schools in Nagpur. We have finished this program in 3 schools in Mumbai. So that was like 5 years back. So it's an ongoing program that we have done. So definitely we see that we have been able to implement that in schools. To give you more examples of activities, let's assume that almost all children, children of all ages would benefit with something called as teaching them the concept of consequential thinking, which means if you do something that it has a consequence. With younger children, the ability is not properly developed. So what we could do, let's take an example, like let's take a strip of paper. The children would be making a strip of paper and then they would write one action on it. For instance, I will play first and study later. So now this strip has to be made by the child. The child is going to make a loop of it and staple it. And there is a small loop of that particular action. Now they're going to make another strip of paper and then write the consequence of this. If I play first and study later, what will happen? So the child most likely is gonna write that I will be tired by the time I come home. So make another loop, pass through it, and then it becomes a chain. So you write consequences of the consequences of the consequences, and then it becomes a longer chain. And then you introduced a different behavior. For instance, I finish my studies first and then I play later. What will be the consequence of it? And then there would be a different chain of consequences. So this way they are going to hold both the chains together and they will show the trainer the chains, that these two different chains. Now this activity was conceptualized by the past president of Albert Ellis Institute, Anne Vernon, and she has written a lot of books on this subject, and my program that I have conceptualized also is based largely on her writings. So this is one example. I think any activity, craft activity, any story, anything that you can play with children can be turned into an emotional education activity very simply. So if the psychologist knows, yeah.
Actually, I would like to congratulate. I know I've bombarded a series of questions and you have to answer, but I must interject here for our audience to know that this way we are actually helping our children to think and think about the consequences. A lot of young children just take the action without even being aware of the consequences. So it's a brilliant chain where they are made to think and then they keep making the chain and they eventually would know the consequences of their own actions, and then interjecting another positive action and then seeing how it takes the ripple effect. Wonderful, Dr. Shishir. Thank you so much. Please carry on. And sorry for this interruption in between.
All right. So any other questions that you had in the list?
So basically, what kind of results does it have? Like, are the parents, children, teachers, institutions, have they all seen some very significant improvement in handling their own emotions by the end of this training? And if you have some specific case to mention, would be lovely.
See, the training is not only directed towards the students, but the training is also directed towards parents. For instance, there are certain things that we can teach parents, like parenting styles. There could be specific parenting techniques. There could be specific issues of parenting that we need to teach the parents, because most parents do not have a manual of their child, how to treat your child. I think none of us has it. I wish I had a manual of my own child, but because parents do not know exactly what would work, they also need some training. And at the same time, teachers also need training about teaching styles and what would be effective, what are the effective ways to discipline, and what are ineffective ways to discipline. So if you see, the program is directed towards students, teachers, and parents all together. So the kind of things that we expect and anticipate are improvement in academic scores. There would be reduction of aggression and bullying in schools. There would be a reduction of adverse events reported to the school principal. This is what we have consistently seen. So that the negative events that were reported to the principal went down significantly. And because we also teach skills like empathy and inclusion to the students, we are also anticipating, and we have seen clearly that children are more inclusive and their cooperation with teachers goes up. Similarly, the power struggle between teachers and students goes down. The power struggle between parents and the school authorities goes down, because now they know what needs to be done. Instead of blaming each other, we see that they have a skill that they can practice. What we also see is that there has been identification of problematic children. Now we also do this through testing, but more and more teachers have been able to identify that children are at risk, who were at risk were identified early, and they were given the necessary assistance.
Rightly said, Dr. Shishir, that the fact remains, when the person has a better control on his or her emotions, then the relationships go better. So, as you're saying, that one grows out of the blame game, and instead of looking for an opportunity to blame the people on the other side of the fence, you actually learn a skill to deal with it. So, it brings in a very conducive environment, be it at home, be it at school, or whether it is between a parent and an institution or whatever. Certainly, I think emotional education is a very, very significant very, very significant education. Would you like to say some message to the parent community on this occasion of, well, while we are discussing about the emotional education as a part of the curriculum at the institutional level?
I would want to tell parents that no amount of love can spoil your children. No amount of love can spoil your children. But a lot of permissiveness and inconsistency can definitely spoil your children. So I would say that, love your children unconditionally, and it's not going to spoil them. It's probably in your behavior that if you are permissive, let them do whatever they want, can significantly spoil them. So my recommendation to parents, because it's a question about the parents, I would say stay kind and firm with children. So that kind of parenting is probably going to help children in the longer run.
Totally endorse, Dr. Shishir, what you say, that actually love your children in abundance is something Dr. Shishir is stressing on, and which I totally endorse, because a lot of parents are of the opinion, they believe that if we love our children, maybe they get spoiled. And permissiveness is what you need to be focusing on. And I think it's very important to maintain that balance between maturity and control. So, when the child is very small, child is totally dependent for even smallest needs onto the parent, and gradually the child grows. But when the child is growing, the control is shifting from actually from others to the self, and a parent is expected to maintain this balance, understand that balance, then only the right parenting come into action. Thank you so much for bringing in this factor. The love in abundance is the key to successful parenting. And now I would request you to give a message to our team of teachers and workers who work in the field of mental health. What would you like to tell them today?
All right, so teachers, teaching is the most stressful profession in the world, and I think you would agree that, and all teachers would agree that managing your own stress is an effective way to win cooperation from from students. So if you aim at winning cooperation from students, I would say one concept needs to be understood, which is obedience is different from discipline. Obedience means do what I say, or as an authority says, whereas discipline means the most efficient way to do something. So if teachers get the difference between obedience and discipline, I think a lot of power struggle would end there, right? Manage your own stress, learn the skills to win cooperation from students, and I'm sure that your path would become much easier. And in the era of digital learning, teachers are simply merely facilitators, because information is available at fingertips. So we are no longer, as teachers, the only and primary source of information to children. So we are more facilitators. So I would say that winning cooperation from students has become increasingly difficult, but it is a skill that can be mastered.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shishir, once again. And I think it's a brilliant message to the team of teachers. Very important to understand what is obedience, to understand, and don't expect children to do as you say, because a child of today is a thinker. And in a digital world, we are not more the information providers, because
Right.
information is loaded on a click of a finger. So what we do, we are the facilitators. And if we have the stronger relationship with our student, the life is going to be different for us and for them, for all of us around us. I think it's a lovely message to the team of teachers. Thank you so much for being here with us. And at last, I would like to request that what do you think as a psychologist, how pandemic has impacted the people in general, and would you have a message for all of us in this era of pandemic?
Very sad to hear this question. In fact, I'm not really happy to answer this question, because the pandemic has hit us in worse ways than we anticipated. So we are, as a psychologist, it gives me goosebumps. The kind of problems that I'm seeing with patients is really sad. We are experiencing new problems that we had never heard of. So the message that I would want to give is, again, learn from the cactus. Learn to be adaptable. Life is unpredictable. Anything can happen anytime. And people really have gone through severe problems, like death of a family member, or losing their jobs, or a constant uncertainty about losing their income and primary source of income. So I'm saying that worst things can happen. The thing that we can control is our own response to these adversities. One of the things that we can learn is adaptation. So instead of looking and sharing our problems with people who are not coping well, share your problems and learn from people who have been coping well with the pandemic and the adversity. So you will learn one or two skills from these people. So a message to all the people who are dealing with the pandemic: this is definitely gonna end. It will leave some definitely bad memories for sure, but it is up to us how do we react to it. And if we keep the primary goal to just survive through this, like come out alive, that's the basic minimum requirement. The rest, everything can be managed later. So I think this is my message to everyone. Just
Thank you so much, Dr. Shishir. Yes, pandemic is very unprecedented era. Very sadly, people have lost their jobs. People, the economic crises are there. But all said and done, rightly said that, share with the people who are emotionally strong. Coming back to the topic of how strong are you emotionally? Because your thought processes are in your hand. Your feelings are right within. It is not external, but internal. Instead of focusing on ABC, expected to focus on AUC. ABC stands for all beyond control, and AUC stands for all under control. So just shift your focus and enjoy life. Me and Dr. Shishir and our team of psychologists are there for you, working day and night, ensuring that you get the best. This morning, Khalij Times, our major news daily, has a full discussion about how COVID has made us more happy. I would like you all to go back and listen to this journalist who has interviewed series of people and who said defining the definition of happiness has changed. I think we look for more happiness now because we have seen the worst in our lives. So I wish you all a very happy emotional living. Thank you so much, Dr. Shishir, for being with us on this platform, and look forward to many more such beautiful, wonderful, intellectual interactions with you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And
And thank
thanks
you
a
all the
lot.
audience and my friends and colleagues who have joined from all the parts of the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.